Hello, I'm Richard Bryant, Executive Director of Musco Center for the Arts at Chapman University. On this day, at this moment, hundreds would be walking down the Aiken Arts Plaza to be greeted by our ushers at the front doors of the Musco Center. Be filled with anticipation, ready for a good time. So tonight, all bound to our homes, we introduce to you our new At the Musco series. These are online events through which you can all connect in real time with our students, our faculty, and professional artists, all engaged in what we call the art of community. Musco Center was built for Chapman students. Tonight, we gather to celebrate them at the very moment they would have been performing here in Mozart's The Magic Flute had it not been for the pandemic. In the weeks ahead, we will announce and host more At the Musco online events, including music, dance, theater, and pop, plus an online continuation of our master classes. I do so wish we could walk through that door, and we will, again. But for now, welcome to At the Musco Center online. So, over to my colleague and friend, Dr. Giulio Ongaro, Dean of the College of Performing Arts.
Good evening and welcome to Chapman University. I'm Giulio Ongaro and I'm the Dean of the College of Performing Arts. And first of all, I want to thank you for being here tonight. As you can imagine, there was a huge impact on our season this semester. We had to cancel almost everything, probably 2/3 of the season, 2 major dance concerts, 2 theater production, 1 major orchestral choral work at the end of the semester, several concerts by ensembles like the orchestra and the wind symphony, and of course a variety of recitals, small ensembles, and everything. And nothing was harder for me than canceling this opera. First of all, because I love the Magic Flute. It's one of my favorite opera. I was really looking forward to seeing it on stage. And second, because I really thought this was going to be the best looking and the best production we ever mounted in the Musco Center for the Arts so far. And also because, as you will hear from designers and from others tonight, this is a process that takes months and months of hard work. Designers start working on it in August. Faculty, staff, students rehearse so hard. And it was really difficult to know that by canceling, I was canceling also all that hard work almost right before the end, almost right before they could actually get on stage. So I feel terrible about it, but I hope that we can restage this opera in the spring of 2021, and I hope you can come and see it in its full glory. Now, I wanted to thank a few people. Peter Atherton, our director of opera, has been absolutely wonderful, and faculty members Paul, Floyd and Adam Borecki, who've been involved with the opera and also with the presentation tonight. And obviously, the Musco Center for the Arts staff and its executive director, Richard Bryant, who have been partners in putting this together. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's presentation of the Magic Flute.
Good evening and welcome to At the Musco, your new online hub for talks, performances, and happenings focused on connecting you to achievement in performance, production, and arts education at the highest levels. I'm Napoleon Gladney, Musco Center Audience Development Manager and your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Tonight is special because we are gathered around our screens to celebrate Die Zauberflöte, more affectionately known by opera and music lovers around the world as the Magic Flute. As Richard Bryant and Dean Ongaro mentioned, Chapman's College of Performing Arts and Opera Chapman were previously scheduled to perform the spectacle that is the Magical Flute tonight, right now, at Musco Center for the Arts. Although that production has been postponed, this free live stream is a rare chance to hear sections of select numbers from the opera performed by Opera Chapman students from their homes. You just experienced a snippet of the overture. This evening, you will also get a sneak peek behind the scenes of the creative team's concepts and designs. Tonight, from the comfort of our homes, we are joined by Opera Chapman Director Dr. Peter Atherton, Music Collaborator Dr. Floyd and Adam Borecki, Director of Music Technology. Opera Chapman, Music Technology, and Theater Technology students will be making appearances throughout the evening, showcasing their hard work. We will be taking questions throughout the evening, so please ask those burning questions in the comments or chat. First, let's kick things off with Dr. Peter Atherton.
Good evening.
Peter, welcome.
Hi, Napoleon. Great to be here.
So happy to have you tonight. So let's just dive in. Can you speak more about Opera Chapman? Give us some background.
Yeah, I mean, Opera Chapman is my life. Since 2001, I've been the director of Opera Chapman, and every year we do a fall scenes program in Salmon Hall. And then in the spring, we do a full production in collaboration with the Chapman Orchestra. And of course, we were all geared up for the Magic Flute this year. But here we are tonight. It's the next best thing. And I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm so appreciative of the Musco staff and Dean Ongaro and College of Performing Arts. It's going to be a great evening. I know those of you watching will have a fabulous time.
Now, I know the Magic Flute has a history with Opera Chapman. Can you speak about that history?
Yes, we did a full production in Memorial Hall in 2012. And that was very successful. It was part of the Orange Festival for the Arts. And one of my greatest memories was the Sunday matinee. In the first scene, Tamino runs on stage and he's being chased by a giant serpent. And he faints from fear. And after the three ladies come in and slay the serpent, Tamino wakes up. And there were all these kids in the audience. And he woke up and he said, "Am I alive? Am I alive?" And a little kid said, "You're alive!" And everybody, that got us off to a great start. So it's great to be revisiting the production these 8 years later, and I know we're gonna touch on a lot of these points later on. So I don't want to give away too much right now, but I'll just say that the transition from doing the Magic Flute in Memorial Hall to the Musco stage is light years. It's like being in the Millennium Falcon and jumping to light speed.
Very cool, very cool. Everyone remember that we are going to be taking questions in the chat. So please ask your questions to any of our speakers tonight, and we will be happy to ask those questions for you. Peter, diving a little bit more into this unique moment right now, what has it been like for you as the director of this huge production, thinking about postponing it and then also taking it into a virtual reality setting?
You know, I think everybody just felt like the wind had been taken out of their sails on March 11th when we gathered in the conservatory, and I think there were meetings all over campus, and the announcement was made that we were going to move to an online platform for all classes, and all performances were being canceled. And none of us had been confronted with this kind of challenge before, so we didn't know what was going to happen. But we had assembled a fabulous team. It's actually the production team that worked on Così fan tutte last year at this time. And we had put in about 5 months of hard work with the designs, teaching the parts to the casts, getting ready for staging rehearsals, costume fittings, production meetings, which were fabulous to see how things were progressing, what we needed to tweak. And so here we were confronted with everybody going to their own little home and trying to come up with something innovative. And so Paul Floyd, my colleague, and Adam Borecki, we started talking about how could we put all of this hard work into a virtual opera production. And so here we are, and that's what you're going to learn about tonight.
I think that's the perfect segue, Peter. Thank you. Now let's continue our celebration of the Magic Flute with a look at how CoPA approached making a virtual opera, followed by an at-home performance featuring Opera Chapman soloist Nick Lab. Enjoy.
Opera Chapman is evolving throughout this period of time and working to keep the music going. Through technology, we're in the process of taking our conservatory training out of the music hall and sharing our music digitally. But with social distancing, none of the musicians can be in the same room at the same time. So, where do we begin a project like this? Well, it all starts with our wonderful accompanist, Dr. Paul Floyd. He recorded himself performing piano accompaniment tracks for us, and might I say, he's done a fabulous job. His recordings are then sent out to all of our cast members so we can rehearse and sync. After we practice our tracks, it's time to perform. In front of the camera, that is. Our team needed to come up with a way that would let the singer hear the accompaniment while also having their performance sound and look as best as possible. The solution was to use earbuds or discrete headphones. This way allowed the singer to use clear musical cues while recording, and a way for the editor to mix the accompaniment in seamlessly. It sounds like Paul Floyd and the singer are in the same room. The post-production team also added some guidelines on how the camera should be set up to record. These consisted of how the background should look and the best lighting possible. Once this was all done, the singer needs to find a suitable costume for their character. The performer could really be creative with this part of the process. It's not just the singing we wanted to record, but also the dialogues that take place in between some of the pieces. We've tested out many ways to make this a smooth process for everybody. We finally decided that each individual performer will record themselves saying a line, waiting a few seconds, and then continue with the scene. This way, the post-production team can work on editing our conversations together with ease. Of course, none of this is possible without practice, and we did a lot of that. It took many takes to get the perfect one we wanted. We are still experimenting with ways we can present it, and we've already learned a lot about the production. Thank you.
Vogelfänger bin ich ja stets lustig, heißer Hopsasa, ich Vogelfänger bin bekannt, bei alt und jung im ganzen Land. Weiß mit dem Locken umzugehen und mich auf Pfeifen zu verstehen. Drum kann ich froh und lustig sein, denn alle Vögel sind ja mein. Der Vogelfänger bin ich ja stets lustig, heißer Hopsasa, ich Vogelfänger bin bekannt, bei alt und jung im ganzen Land. Ein Netz für Mädchen möchte ich fing sie dötzenweis für mich. Dann sperrte ich sie bei mir ein und alle Mädchen werden mein. Wenn alle Mädchen wären mein, so tauschte ich brav Zucker ein, die welche mir am liebsten wär, denn geb ich gleich den Zucker her. Und küsste sie mich zärtlich dann, wär sie mein Weib und ich ihr Mann. Sie schlief an meiner Seite ein, die wiegte wie ein Kind sie ein.
Thank you so much, Nick Glaub, for the spirited performance of Die Vogelfänger, or Papagano's introduction aria from your living room. In addition to Dr. Peter Atherton, we are so honored to be joined tonight by music collaborator Dr. Paul Floyd. Welcome.
I'm glad to be here. Lovely to be here with you tonight.
Paul, can you give us some background about your involvement with this production?
Sure. This is I think my sixth spring production of Opera Chapman. I, along with my colleague Janet Cow, do all the musical preparation for the opera. So we spend a good 4 to 6 weeks of just kind of really focusing on the music. In this case, working on the German language, refining musical phrasing and musical style. Hopefully we're not doing too much notes and rhythms, but really finding ways to listen what's important in the music, what brings this music to life, and why it's so great.
It's fantastic. Peter, can you speak about what it's like merging the orchestrations and the vocal performance as a director?
That's a huge component, and many of our young singers come to Chapman, and they've never had the opportunity to sing with a live orchestra. But long before we get to that point, as Dr. Floyd was talking about, we're doing a lot of coaching, one-on-one coaching, and then putting the ensembles together. In this instance, we're doing the Magic Flute in the original German libretto, although in the Magic Flute, there's dialogue. So to make it a little more accessible for our audience, all the dialogues are in English. So there's a lot of work on getting the proper pronunciation. And once the casts have memorized everything and we've started to get our staging down, then our maestro, Daniel Walks, calls them to rehearsals with the orchestra, where they just join in the rehearsal process, setting the tempi, making sure the balances are good before we get close to moving into the theater.
That's amazing. We have a question from the audience. How long does it take the students to learn a full opera? How much rehearsal time are they in?
We decided in August that we would mount this for the spring production. And following the fall scenes program, the cast members prepare certain excerpts from the opera as an audition. Then we do the casting, and we put all this together with only 6 hours of rehearsal a week. So it's quite an undertaking to train 2 full casts to get them ready. So we have November, December, then we come back at the end of January. We usually spend February polishing everything. Then beginning of March, we start staging rehearsals so that we're ready at the beginning of the April to put the singers with the orchestra and get ready to move into the theater.
That's great. Now back to Paul. I'm really interested in learning more about what it's like for you as an accompanist and on the musicianship side of things. How are you translating what would be on stage to a digital format in a virtual opera?
I think you're asking about my role in virtual coaching. You froze on me a little bit there. I was somewhat hesitant about working virtually with singers, but I'm finding that there's a lot to be learned. One thing for me is I get the luxury now, after recording a lot of piano tracks like the ones I did for Magic Flute, to then have the singers sing to these tracks, and all I have to do is sit back and listen. I can give them the kind of attention I've found I don't always give them when I'm actually playing in real time. That's one thing. We were discussing earlier with the kids this afternoon that this is really challenging and that they're doing their parts in an ensemble without hearing any of their colleagues. So they are being forced to know what their colleagues are singing and imagining it virtually, which is quite a skill to know everybody's part so well in a quintet that you can come in at just the right time and know how to react and color your own part. So there's a lot to be learned, I think, from this virtual work.
Peter, you are also a professor. What has it been like for you transitioning to teaching voice online?
Well, as my colleague Paul said, the challenge to try and teach voice over the internet, the first thing we had to do was really count on Paul Floyd and Janet Cow and the rest of our keyboard collaborative artists to make tracks for all the repertoire outside of the opera that the voice majors were singing. And fortunately, the pianist, for the most part, had the music for each student, but then that was another challenge. If they didn't have the music, we had to get a PDF, send it to them, they'd make the recording, send it to the student, and hopefully we'd have materials to work on each week. So I have an amazing library of accompaniments now. I'm going to teach virtually for the rest of my life.
That's so great. That's a perfect segue, because next we will learn about green screen technology with current student Jeremy Davalos and audio mixing for our virtual opera with Adam Borecki. Keep an eye and an ear out for our Chapman students, Sarah Bailey and Brittany St. Clair. And if you have headphones handy, I highly recommend using them for Adam's sound mixing tutorial. There's some really cool auditory technology being utilized. And I'll see you on the other side.
Hi there, my name is Jeremy, and I am part of the post-production team for the Spring 2020 virtual Magic Flute performance. But what does a virtual opera even look like? Do we put people on a digital stage? Do we perform it live on a Zoom call? Do we just have the cast members sing from their homes in their modern-day clothing? What we've decided to try and do is make it look like everyone appears on our digital stage. Like it's the real thing, because this just isn't all that entertaining. This is an improvement. But there isn't any music. Hold on. Ah, there we go. That's better. We've got some music thanks to the incredible pianist Paul Floyd. But what is Nick looking at? So here's where the technology comes in. In big action movies, they use these green screens that allow our heroes to be cropped out and put anywhere from downtown Chicago to Mount Everest to the surface of Mars. But I don't know about you, I don't have a green screen lying around, and the cast doesn't either. That's a green wall, that doesn't count. Instead, we can use technology called Difference Map to simulate a green screen crop. It uses a solid, unmoving background, and it replaces it with the backdrop so our hero can be seen wherever we want. So what was Nick looking at? Let's use matte replacement and find out. Oh look, a setting! That isn't his living room wall! Oh no, Nick. Oh no, what happened to your face? And your skin? Okay. Well, what if we try Zoom? We've been using Zoom for all of our classes, all of our work meetings, and even just hanging out with our friends. But trying to do the dialogue live is, well, interesting. Nick, buddy, you're, well, looking the, you know what, let's just flip them around here. Ah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Zoom has this function called virtual backgrounds, which replace everything behind you with a different image. Okay, let's see what we have. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Oh, neat, yeah. Yeah. Hi there. So let's see how this works out. Oh look, it's Brittany. Hi, Brittany. So here she is without any special background. And here she is using a Zoom background of a green, well, blue screen. Huh. That's something. So let's see what happens if we replace the blue screen with a background like they do in the movies. Except here our blue screen is a digital creation, not a physical wall. Huh. Well, that's something. Let's try doing a difference mat with that first clip. Well, that's definitely an improvement. So these are some of the challenges we are facing when trying to create a virtual opera, when really the only technology we know that everyone in the crew has is a phone. Difference mat is a very powerful tool, but it requires just the right lighting situation for it to work and not replace Nick's face with the wall, although it was pretty funny. We'll keep tweaking our process so people like Nick get to keep their face. I mean, Brittany had her face. But we're really paving new grounds with a remote opera production, so who really knows of all the crazy stuff that we're going to come up with. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed your look behind the scenes of the virtual Magic Flute.
Hello, my name is Adam Borecki. I'm the Director of Music Technology at Chapman, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the audio mixing that's going into the virtual Magic Flute. Let's get started. Here's a video by one of our queens of the night. This is Sarah Bailey recording from her bedroom on her cell phone. A cell phone microphone is not designed to handle the dynamic range and emotion that can be expressed by a soprano. So the first thing we do is look for the loudest parts and see if I can improve the audio that came in from the cell phone microphone. Here's before. And here's after. Now we're going to add in Paul Floyd's recordings. Originally, they're not going to line up. So, I'll listen just to the piano part. And I'll listen just to the vocal part. And then I'll wiggle them around until I can get them as close as I can manage. That wasn't quite right. And too much in the other direction. That's pretty close. Now that our timing is good to go, we need to start to think about balance and creating a new acoustic space for these people to perform in. Yesterday I had the pleasure of moderating a conversation with the composer Eric Whitaker, as well as a bunch of Chapman students, composers and choral musicians, and he gave great praise not only to the students of Chapman for their resilience and all of their great ideas through this, but also to the Musco Center. He had recorded a project just this January and said it was one of the best experiences in one of the greatest concert halls in the world. Although we don't have the ability to be in the Musco Center right now, we're going to use an artificial reverb plugin just to try to emulate what it would sound like to be sitting in the concert hall listening to this opera live. Here's Sarah Bailey's voice without any additional reverb. Here's just the reverb that we're about to add. Let's hear the original voice with the reverb. Let's tone that down to a more reasonable level. We can now add in the piano, but the piano doesn't have reverb yet. And here is the final version. We've now taken Sarah Bailey and Paul Floyd, recorded in different locations at different times, and placed them together in the same virtual concert hall. Enjoy an excerpt of her performance. As we jump forward to the impressive coloratura moment that you've been waiting for, it's important to mention another technical limitation. When we're recording with different audio devices, the synchronization starts to drift off just a little bit. Also, no matter how much computer magic I try to do, you still can't quite capture all of the sounds you would hear in a real performance. But that being said, let's hear the finale of this aria with Sarah Bailey. We have one more performance excerpt to share with you. This is actually only half of the piece. It's a duet, and we currently have one of the vocalists. So, in this, I'm using something called binaural panning. You can listen to this on fancy headphones or even on just ordinary earbuds. But instead of just panning things from the left to the right, we can actually take our performers and move them around in three-dimensional space. Put them in front of you, behind you, above you, or to the side. It's okay if you're listening on computer speakers, but for those of you who are listening on earbuds or headphones, binaural panning is a way that we can make this an even more immersive experience. Hope you enjoyed Brittany St. Clair and Paul Floyd. Hello, my name is Adam Borecki. I'm the Director of Music Technology at Chapman, and I'm here to talk a little bit
Bravo, everyone. I am feeling so much Panther pride right now.
Here's a video.
Bravo, everyone. I am feeling so much Panther pride right now. Shout out to Jeremy Davlos for that amazing green screen demonstration and our soloists Sarah Bailey and Brittany St. Clair. Bravo, everyone. Joining us now is Adam Borecki, Director of Music Technology, who you just saw. Welcome to the celebration, Adam.
Hello, thanks so much. It's great to be here. I'm glad that we have this behind the scenes look where we can really celebrate all the students, both those who are performing as well as everyone who made everything behind the scenes really come to life.
We have so many questions for you. The first one is, with this virtual opera, how much time are you spending on the editing?
That's a great question, and the answer is different for me versus the students I work with. As you got to hear from Jeremy, he's putting in a lot of time. Nick Glab has also been instrumental in terms of collecting recordings from the students, trying out tests, getting things here and there. It's a nice extension of what we've been working on before, because the students have already put so much effort into the performance side of it, making their voices sound good, getting the rehearsal parts in order. Now we're spending a good amount of time on the other end of things, just figuring out the logistics of how to make it work.
That's amazing. Earlier, you mentioned that you are a Chapman alumni.
Correct. I graduated.
Can you let us know how your experiences? Can you let us know how your experiences as a Chapman student have got you to this point now?
Absolutely. I graduated from Chapman in the year 2012 with a double major in guitar and composition. And I think that something that's universal for everyone now is that life just takes us in unexpected places. A year ago, I would have never thought that I'd have the opportunity to collaborate with musicians on music technology. 10 years ago, I would have never thought that my life revolved around computers and music. So for me, it was really great just to keep an open mind, find out what opportunities come. Whenever doors close, somewhere else another door opens. And so for everyone right now, as we're transitioning into this new world where everything that we've taken for granted, all of the normal interactions, being able to give someone a hug, that's just so foreign and impossible. It's really great to know that with great opportunities, we have these challenges that we have to overcome. The larger the cloud, the larger the silver lining. And so I look forward to how we can take this, go further with it, and see how we can really reinvent the concert experience. There's no substitute for being on stage at the Musco Center for the Arts. And my heart really goes out to all of the students on stage, all of the students in the pit, all of the students who made the lighting and the costumes, everything. But I think that's a great opportunity to look forward to the future with the new dean coming in at the film school, and also with the operations we have for virtual reality, setting up binaural pan where we can move things in three-dimensional space, setting up 360-degree cameras. I'm already inspired not only by the students I have, but also the technical staff from Musco, who's putting in a lot of time. They're going to come into our class next week and show us some behind the scenes of how this works. So when we're back to life as normal, it's not going to be life as normal. It's going to be life even more immersive. We're really going to value the time we spend together, and we're going to have a better understanding of how technology can really improve art.
I love that perspective so much, Adam. That is so positive and so forward thinking. Final question for you. What are you most excited about as we have shifted to this online world?
That's a great question. And to be honest, it's not a very nice thing to say, but now people have to get on my level. I love sitting in front of a computer. I love doing video chats. It's great. And I know that it's unpleasant to try to learn new things. Working with Zoom is like learning a new language, and everything is different, and it's all right. It sucks. But hey, we're all in this together. And now more than ever, we have an appreciation for what real music is, what magic you can really have by being together for a choir performance led by Stephen Coker, being together for an orchestra performance led by Daniel Walks, a wind symphony performance led by Bob Frelly, even the student recitals. All of those I miss now even more than ever. And so, as we look forward to the future, it's going to be great for us to keep in mind what's really important and keep in mind how we can all come back together as a community.
That's perfect, Adam. Thank you so much for joining us. That's a great segue because we're talking about the future. And as we know, this performance has been postponed until next spring. So we're going to actually speak with some of our designers tonight. We're going to be joined by our 3 talented designers behind the vision of the Magic Flute. First, we'll be joined by costume designer Jojo Seo after a brief look at her design and work process right now.
My name is Jojo Seo, and I am the costume designer for the Magic Flute. This opera finds itself in a version of Egypt that is not defined by time. There is a sense of enlightenment versus the darkness that we see in the characters of the Queen of the Night, as well as the 3 ladies who belong to her realm. I took inspiration from the Byzantine era because it was a religious age in which surface adornment and decoration was key. This excessive attention to detail, mixed with the Egyptian headdresses and usek collars that we so commonly associate with this culture, is a common thread throughout the designs. Tamino and Pamina are our 2 lovers. Tamino embarks on a hero's journey quest to save the kidnapped Pamina from her captor. Tamino belongs to a world completely outside the realm of Egypt. He is a traveler and adventurer by nature, and his clothing was heavily inspired by Ukrainian folkwear and embroidery. Pamina's design is a reflection of her mother, with matching elements, but utilizes a more ethereal color palette and fabric choice. I wanted her silhouette to embody a more water-like quality that speaks to her spirit in the opera. No adventurer can travel without his trusty partner in crime. Papageno is the perfect comic relief, as well as the bumbling sidekick. He enters carrying a birdcage, searching for birds, and thus is dressed much like a bird himself. Eventually, we encounter the lovely Papagena, the perfect counterpart to our unfortunate bird friend. As our more fantastical and surrealistic characters in this opera, I wanted them to be full of vibrancy and color. The feathers would be made from a felted fabric and layered to create a more dimensional silhouette resembling a bird. Pamina's captor is named Monostatos. He is the epitome of the debased creature, and thus there is a very primal instinct in his design. I was inspired by the faun, the half-goat, half-man creature, and wanted to emphasize the roundness and sloth of his character. The regal height of the collar is meant to emphasize his own self-perception, both selfish and arrogant. Sarastro is on the other end of the spectrum from our Queen of the Night. While she is the emblem of darkness and the colors of the night, Sarastro is the high priest who embodies light and the colors of the golden sun. Our speaker and our armored men do not appear for long in this opera, but they are members also of our world of enlightenment, ruled by Sarastra. Both are highly inspired by Egyptian priest and warrior wear, respectively. The speaker's headdress, called nemes, is inspired by the pharaohs from ancient Egypt. The robe is more influenced by Byzantine priestly wear. For the armored men, there is a more harem-like aspect to their clothing, with the surface decoration inspired, again, by the Byzantine era. The final element of this opera are the 3 spirits. Also belonging outside of this realm, the 3 spirits are the Deus Ex Machina characters who appear at random moments throughout to aid our heroes in their journey. This silhouette was heavily inspired by Comme des Garçons' Fall-Winter 2012 ready-to-wear fashion line. A series of doll-like coats with no revealing shape gives us a more androgynous image, since most versions of this opera are performed with these 3 spirits played by young boys.
For those of us that are just joining the conversation, welcome to a celebration of the Magic Flute. We just saw an amazingly beautiful presentation by Jojo Seo, costume designer, of all of her design sketches. Jojo, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, thank you so much for letting me join in.
Yes, definitely. Let's get started. So can you describe your design process and your inspiration for the show?
Sure. I talked a little bit about it in the video too, but Peter and I had talked a long time ago about what this world actually is. And of course, we're talking about a lot of fantastical elements and sort of a fantasy world. So even though we do talk a lot about Egypt and we are inspired by that, there's not really a timeline that's set here. So Egyptian pieces and costume elements were definitely used throughout as a thread. But we sort of brought in pretty much anything that you can think of that sort of makes you think of magic. That's kind of what I wanted to incorporate here. So there's quite a lot of kind of created pieces that we used in this script.
Very cool. We have a question from the audience about the feathers. People are really taken back by the feathers. Can you speak about the materials and the fabrics and the textures and textiles that you use in your designs for this production?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually a designer that works with a lot of textures and works with a lot of layering. So for this, I really wanted it to be as three-dimensional as possible. Specifically for Papageno and Papagena, both of them are actually sort of bird creatures. They're searching for birds when we first see Papageno, and he comes in carrying a bird cage. So one of the things I really wanted to embody was the fact that he is dressed like a bird to attract other birds. This is pretty typical to what they see in a lot of Magic Flute versions, but we decided to go a little bit more colorful, a little bit more surreal with his look. And in terms of the actual feathers, they're going to be created by felt, so not actual feathers, but we're kind of cutting out feather pieces using sort of a felted technique. Not only does that give a little bit more weight to the feathers, but it also gives them a little bit more of a silhouette that kind of embodies the sort of puffed out pigeon breast bird look.
Very cool. So all of your designs are very layered and intricate for this production. Can you speak to the costume construction process and how that's come along thus far?
Yes, costume construction is absolutely an integral part of costume. I often am not building myself, but we actually are very lucky at Chapman. We have a full staff and also part-time staffers that come in and actually will help build all of these pieces. And with such a huge production like this, and often with operas, we often have a much bigger staff that's needed to build this. With this particular opera, we were able to shop a little bit and also construct, but pretty much everything had some sort of hand in it in terms of construction. What happens with the construction process is that we often have to meet with the singer and we see them in a fitting. And whatever those pieces that we've bought already, sometimes they don't fit. So our construction team ends up having to take things in, or sometimes they're building entire pieces on top of something that already exists. That is pretty true in this particular opera, just because of all the fantastical creatures that we're really creating. So we had sort of base, what you call foundation pieces that end up having a lot of additional bits and tweaks and things that were constructed from very unusual materials as well. So our construction team, I cannot speak about them enough. They are integral to that process, and I cannot do most of this without them. Most of them have many, many years of experience, and they have worked for many, many years in the theater or opera or even dance production. And they've been building anything from dance leotards to walk around animal costumes. So they really have a lot of knowledge that they bring into this process. And oftentimes we're having a collaborative experience and conversation about that. So if there's things that I want to happen in terms of the design, and I don't have the build knowledge or the construction knowledge, they are often the ones that are giving me that advice and telling me what is possible and how we can create the kind of created creatures that we've made up for this world.
Wow. Final question from the audience. I know this production is double cast and it's a large cast. Do you know off the top of your head how many costume pieces there are in total?
Ooh, that is a good question. I will say I counted a long time ago, and I'm sure it's somewhere over 100 at this point. With this particular cast, we got very lucky. Peter was really great about making sure that a lot of the people that were double cast are fairly similar in shape. The other thing that's really important with this particular show is that because there are so many creatures that don't necessarily need the costumes to be body type, we were able to get away with some of the costumes being able to be used for multiple cast members or singers in this case. So that kind of gave us a little bit more of an advantage. We didn't have to build or procure as many costume pieces as we normally would. I know with Cosi Fan Tuke last year, it was way more costumes than we have this year in terms of numbers, but that doesn't diminish the amount of pieces that we have per character. And of course, this was a lot more build heavy in terms of constructing the unusual pieces like headwear and, you know, kind of created false shapes that we didn't have last year.
Amazing. Thank you so much, JoJo.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So next up, we have lighting design with Rin Mizumoto. She's going to share some of her design inspiration and ideas right now.
My name is Rin Mizumoto, and I am the lighting designer for the production of Magic Flute. This is the lighting plot that I created for the show by editing Musco Center's rep plot. This is kind of like a map that shows where all the lighting fixtures are going to be positioned, as well as what kind of colors and patterns those fixtures will have. As for the process, I learned about the storyline and listened to the show album to figure out what colors I want to use for each scene and song. This is the reference photo for the opening scene. I knew that the show was set in the desert, so I chose to use pale ambers to create a rocky desert look. For scenes with the Queen of the Night, I was planning to use star patterns all over the stage so that it looks like she was emerging from the night sky. For Sarastoro's palace, I wanted to create a warm, earthy look, so I was planning on using bright amber colors. For the battle scenes, I wanted to use saturated colors like red for the fire trial and blue for the water trial. For the last scene, I wanted to use beams of lights to show the sunbeams, as well as use a warm mix of straw and amber colors to represent the rise of the Temple of the Sun. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my work.
We are now joined with Rin Mizumoto. Welcome, Rin.
Hello, thank you.
So Rin, you're in such a unique position because you are a Chapman University graduating senior. How does it feel working with your professors and mentors?
So at first I was a little nervous to join the creative team as the only student designer, but I felt supported by everyone on the team. And yeah, it was really a great opportunity to be able to work with them.
I love that. What were some of your favorite parts of this design experience?
I enjoyed being able to explore different images for my presentation and being able to collaborate with other designers, especially in Musco.
What did you learn from this project?
I was able to learn a couple of new softwares from Musco Center's staff members. And I also learned how to collaborate with other designers and how to express and explain my design concepts to the team. But a lot of lighting design work starts once I move into the theater, so I'm excited to learn more if I get the chance to work on it in the future.
Lovely. So lighting design and scenic design are really intertwined. Can you speak about how you work closely with the scenic designer on this production?
Yes. So for this production, the stage had a big projection screen. And so I had to be careful to not put too much lights on it because it would reflect on the projection screen. So I really made sure that it wouldn't be in a bad way, And also in a good way, the set also had a lot of potential because of the projector. So I got a lot of inspiration from projection design, which was really cool.
We have a question from the audience. Since you spoke about projection, is there a conflict with the light for projection and your lights?
Yes, so if my lights were focused on the screen, it would actually make the projector look the audience cannot see the projector as well as they can without the lights. So I just have to make sure that it's not reflecting on the screen.
So we have another question from the audience. You're popular, Rin. So this question is, do you have any new elements you wish to add to your field of design or something you'd like to try?
I would have loved to work with so for this production was going to have an LED color changing portal around the stage. So I was really excited to implement that into my design.
So we've been talking a lot about story and storytelling with each department. Can you speak to your creative process when it comes to light for a production like this? That's another question from the audience.
So my design process?
For lighting.
For lighting, yeah. So I usually first learn the story and I talked with the director about his idea and what he'd like to see. And then after that, I just kind of look for inspiration images that I can use for my design presentation. And then that's where I usually start.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining us, Rin, and congratulations on your upcoming graduation. We wish you all of the best of luck, and we hope to see your lighting designs when we get to do this production live.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have our scenic design by Jessa Orr. Jessa is unfortunately unable to join us tonight, so I'll be speaking with Peter Atherton more about the production and scenic design after this.
Hello, my name is Jessa Orr, and I'm the set and projection designer for the Magic Flute. This is my second show with Opera Chapman. We first met for Flute back in August and discussed Professor Atherton's overall vision for the production. From there, I spent a few weeks collecting visual research for inspiration. I like to have an idea of what the final look will be before I start drafting, but I do most of my designing in the 3D model because I find it easier to quickly move pieces around, try things, and see it from multiple angles. The technical team always appreciates the incorporation of existing scenic pieces and materials that can be repurposed, so I typically start from there when I'm working on a layout. On Magic Flute, Professor Atherton was excited to use projections to help tell the story and establish all of the different locations. I eventually landed on a design with a large central projection screen flanked by pyramid shapes. I also utilized existing LED portals and added some Art Deco Egyptian motifs throughout. I chose black and gold for the paint scheme for the set pieces to give them an elegant and magical look and to make the neutral background for JoJo's beautiful costumes. Once the set design was approved, I started working on the projection designs. The goal was to combine some ramped up and colorful realism with the Art Deco motifs from the set design. Once I had each scene laid out in Photoshop, I took them into After Effects and added bits of animation like wind, birds, and fire to give the scenes some life. I'm very happy with how everything came together for Magic Flute. I loved working with this talented team.
Wow, that really gave me chills, being able to see all of those scenic design elements flying in and out, all of the vibrant colors, the movement, the ideas with the projection. It's something to really look forward to when you remount this next spring. Peter, welcome back.
Thank you. Isn't that amazing? And we're working with this design team is, it's a dream come true.
Can you speak more about the collaborative process between the director and all of the designers?
Well, we're fortunate enough that both the costume designer and the scenic designer worked on Così fan tutte last year. So we had a language going, we had a good flow of communication. And when we started talking about the concept and the vision back in August, the ball just started rolling immediately. And with an opera like the Magic Flute, where everything is so fantastical, the sky was the limit. And just looking at JoJo's designs and Jess's set pieces, and it went by pretty quickly, but having 6 different levels for the set, just amazing.
What inspiration do you draw from the set in terms of your direction and blocking and how you're going to use the space?
Well, I've actually I've been in 4 different productions of the Magic Flute, and now this is the 3rd production I've directed at Chapman. And of course, this is the most lavish production I've been had the fortune of being able to direct. And a lot of that has to do with the capabilities of the Musco stage. The sky is the limit. I loved Adam's analogy. The bigger the cloud, the bigger the silver lining. And when you're talking about Musco Center, that's a huge silver lining. So it's been, it was a real treat getting to work and collaborate with this team. And that's part of the letdown. I mean, we were so close, but now we have to look forward to it for next year.
Exactly. So we heard from Rin Mizumoto, who's a graduating senior. We also have some other seniors that were scheduled to be involved with this production. And we want to take a moment to honor the 3 of them. Brittany St. Clair, Susie Rosca, and Desmond Woodward. Peter, having seen these 3 students develop and grow over the last 4 years, can you give us some insight to what their journey has been like?
Well, each of those 3 seniors has been an integral part of Opera Chapman over the past 3 years. Desmond and Susie were transfer students, and from my recollection, they hadn't had a lot of stage experience. So the way we designed the program, we do a more intimate scenes production in the fall. And 3 years ago, we did a mini version of A Little Night Music. We called it A Weekend in the Country. And all 3 of these students had major parts. And over that 3-year period, their trajectory has just been astounding. Brittany, I think she was a little nervous and gun shy to audition her freshman year, so she waited until her sophomore year. But she's been in every production since then. And same with Susie and Desmond. And I'm sure they have a lot of wonderful memories and a tremendous experience going forward. That's one of the real goals. We want to give as many of the voice students an opportunity to get on the stage and prepare themselves for the next level in their career trajectory.
That's great. So what's really unique about this moment is that we actually get to see Brittany, Susie, and Desmond perform some scenes from Cosi fan tutti, as well as share some of their past experiences at Chapman with us now. Let's take a look.
So I started with Opera Chapman in the fall of my sophomore year, and in the fall we do opera students programs where we don't do a full role, but we get opportunities to kind of all together as a cast do equal kind of footings. So what that means is, for example, my junior year we did Leonard Bernstein scenes from all of his different musicals and operetta type shows. And so I was Maria from West Side Story, and I got to do some of her favorite numbers like I Feel Pretty, and that's a song that's always stuck with me ever since then. One of the cool things about Opera Chapman is we bring in a lot of really cool professionals and people that work in the field. For example, not just big name performers out there, but even coaches like Alexander Technique. So one of my favorite experiences was just learning how to run properly without compromising my technique, and I Feel Pretty, and just all the emotion that wells up in that, and how do you do that without causing anything to change with your technique?
There's nothing quite so thankless as being a servant to play. From morning till midnight you work, you slave, do your best, and when you're finished you have nothing to show for it. For example, I have to serve my mistress's breakfast, and all I get is a wonderful aroma of hot chocolate. Do they want me to live on mere aroma? Just where is it written that they should have the egg and I the shell? For once, I think I'll try some. How delicious! Oh, they're coming. That was a narrow escape. My ladies, I'm already brought your breakfast. Bless my soul, what has happened? What is the matter?
One piece of advice I would give to anybody in the performing arts, or if you're a freshman incoming to pursue vocal performance, I would say take advantage of every opportunity you can to learn from as many different people as you can, whether that's attending master classes that the school puts on, or trying to fit your schedule so that you can take coachings and Alexander Technique lessons. Be prepared for your lessons. I would say the professors we have at Chapman are so knowledgeable and they have so much to share with us. Don't take it for granted.
When I transferred to Chapman, I came here with no formal stage experience, so each production in which I was lucky enough to participate provided me with a completely new experience that simultaneously excited and terrified me, but from which I grew immensely. Mrs. Herring in Benjamin Britten's opera Albert Herring in the spring of 2018, and Dorabella in Mozart's Così fan tutte in the spring of 2019. These characters both present themselves unapologetically as they are, flaws and all, and have to grapple with circumstances that are not ideal for them. Some are dealt with more successfully than others, and that provided me with an opportunity to really grow as a performer and as a person. The coaching team that we have here at Chapman University, Dr. Paul Floyd and Dr. Janet Cow, Dr. Peter Atherton, and Maestro Wax form the nucleus of a vibrant and supportive family, really. And that cannot be overstated. The nature of this program is so tight and so kind and so supportive. I don't think that half of the work that we are able to produce would be possible without these people at the helm and without the truly friendship-oriented spirit of everyone who has participated in every production. So I have to say thank you so much. And to those of you who are lucky enough to continue in this program, just remember that you will never, ever lose anything by just showing up and auditioning. I fully thought that I would maybe get cast once in a chorus role during my time here at Chapman, and I was completely content with that. But my experience turned out to be very different, and I'm so happy that I was able to get past my own worries and doubt and just take that first step. So go for it.
Shall we two take a walk?
I am all for it. Good Lord.
Is something wrong?
All of a sudden I feel dreadful. Perhaps it's some kind of fever. I may even be dying.
I don't believe a word of it. You still are feeling effects from the poison you've taken.
There is a far more deadly poison, a far more fatal danger in the flames of your too glorious eyes.
A flattering comparison.
Would you do me one favor? Let me give you this locket.
A locket?
Yes, darling. A most appropriate symbol to reassure you of my everlasting love.
Oh dear, it's so charming.
If you reject me, I'm determined to perish. You'll accept it?
I accept it.
What a blow for Fano. I am delirious. Il cuore vi dono, belli dono mio, ma il vostro anch'io vi datelo a me.
I would have to say that my favorite memory during my time with Opera Chapman would have to be the very first sing-through of Albert Herring with the orchestra. It was my first time ever singing with the full orchestra, having to collaborate with other musicians besides a pianist and vocalists. And it was so scary. but it was also so exciting. I was able to sit with my closest friends singing some really fun, cool music, and just being in that room with the full orchestra and the conductor and the director. It was just a glimpse, hopefully a glimpse into my future, and it really motivated me and made me very excited. If I were to have any parting words to the production staff or my peers that are going to be remaining at Chapman, just thank you for all the memories. Thank you for pushing me and helping me grow and become the musician and artist that I am today. I owe all of this performing experience and just all these opportunities to you. Yeah, I just want to thank you and express my gratitude, and hope that I get to come back and, see the program continue to flourish and put on more amazing productions.
I really enjoyed seeing the performances in last year's production of Così fan tutti and hearing the experiences of Brittany, Susie, and Desmond. Being a Chapman CoPA alumnus myself, I really connect with each of their stories. Thank you for sharing, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck in your future careers. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our time together. Peter, do you have any parting words?
I hope everybody who is watching this evening is inspired and will come and see us next year. We'll be doing, hopefully we'll be back live. In October, we'll be doing a scenes program, and then in April, we will do the full Magic Flute in the Musco Center. This hopefully whetted everybody's appetite to see the real Magic Flute.
Thank you so much, Peter. All right, everyone, last thing. I would love to propose a toast. Everyone sitting where you are, raise your glass, and let's cheers all the amazing students and faculty and staff and technicians and people that worked on this wonderful evening of building community and bringing us all together. 3, 2, 1, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. On behalf of Chapman University, the College of Performing Arts, Opera Chapman and Musco Center for the Arts, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Be safe and be well. We'll see you soon.